corpus, which help us to get a more authentic data set from. So now, interestingly, the whole presentation is built upon, and discussing about how to search the right, keywords, how we can search our research gaps out of selection of the articles that we had. What could be the possible way of lowering down the efforts and get the uh, precise outcome through the literature survey or the search we will have. So there are a lot of things I wish to discuss with you guys. And interestingly, my perspective is on Indian knowledge system, which I believe that it is something, is coming up like anything after NEP. And one of the thrust area of NEP is knowledge system, Indian knowledge system. So the whole presentation that I try to, create was revolves around, two factors that how the newer system of knowledge is coming and how it is getting connected to the historical or ancient skill set that our ancestors, our seniors or the people those are intensively involved into knowledge creation centuries back. They have created in the form of lot many spirituals. So a lot of things I wish to have discussion on, and I felt that why don't we, as Indian professors belonging to lot many of government universities and colleges, why don't we take up the opportunity and convert or translate or transformationalize the inputs that we are getting from scriptures, a lot of information which is coming from the secondary data, and our narratives which are coming from Upanishad and Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures from other religion also. So now meantime, let me try to share the PPT again, and let me try to connect to. Give me 1 minute time so that I can get to.
No problem, sir. Please, no problem.
So interestingly, the things revolves from two things. First is how the Indian knowledge system is being taken up as a topic for doing research. So let me try to reconnect with you guys, and at least if possible, at least the PPT should shared so that I can narrate upon the shared PPT. So give me a second time. I think net is pathetic here. So the first thing first is understanding what problem is, right? And I wish to take you people for an interactive discussion. In your opinion, what is research problem? So let me start with Dr. Harsh. Dr. Harsh, I'm seeing you're keenly listening and putting headphone on your ears, and so kindly please unmute yourself and let us know what research problem is for you and which area you belong to.
Sir, I am from commerce background. The research problem. It is class. Please, participants, don't
Dr. Harsh, please continue.
मतलब जैसे हम किसी टॉपिक पे अगर जानना चाहते हैं कि रिवाइज करिए हाँ जी, जैसे रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम ये हो सकती है कि हम देखना चाहते हैं कि किसी चीज के बीच में कोई रिलेशनशिप है या नहीं है, या किसी का कोई सिग्निफिकेंट इफेक्ट पड़ता है किसी, जैसे मान लो कोई ट्रेनिंग सेशन होती है, जैसे मान लो रिफ्रेशर कोर्स ही है, इस रिफ्रेशर कोर्स का हमारी एफिशिएंसी के ऊपर क्या इफेक्ट पड़ा वो चेक करें। मतलब ये एक प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है कि इफेक्टिव है या नहीं है ये चेक करना, या कोई रिलेशन है इसका एक दूसरे के साथ आपस में कोरिलेशन वो चेक कर सकते हैं। वो हमारी प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम की। कोई ट्रेनिंग दिया अगर किसी टीचर्स को तो वो उनके लिए कितनी इफेक्टिव है। क्या वो बिफोर ट्रेनिंग आफ्टर ट्रेनिंग?
Right. So she took a problem which is training and development of faculty members, and it's basically is a topic for doing research. So it's a research topic, and the problem could be what? Problem is somehow which is within the topic, which is what the impact of. For example, she want to evaluate the impact of training into the efficiency of teachers. So post जब training लेके teachers जाएंगे तो उनकी efficiency पे क्या impact पड़ेगा? Dr. Harsh, is it? So now interestingly, while she was understanding that how the training and development activities by HRDC is helping teachers to increase their efficiency in their workplace while they come back to their colleges for delivering lectures, and how effectively they can manage it. It could be the area where she can build upon the research problem. So a research problem is actually coming through the research question she has in mind. So interestingly, जो बात यहाँ समझने लायक है वो ये है कि research problem को support देने के लिए we need to have a research question in mind. I'm going to say, for example, is it all teachers she want to experiment? Is it only the teachers which are the commerce department teachers? Is it the teachers not only commerce but also from the Department of Physical Education? Is it not only the commerce and the physical education teachers but also the teacher from history department? So now she as a researcher has lot many questions in her mind, because if you see that the subjects are different and thus the orientation is also very different. So based on multiple orientations, we may have different ways to see the research problem, and the research problem can be further examined or analyzed through the research questions we have in our mind. So I hope good time has come. Let me try to rejoin. So I hope that I'm visible and clearly audible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Courtesy to, thank you so much. Courtesy to Tanuja, she is my scholar, and thanks to her for giving us the network support. And I'm just trying to open the PPT again. Yes. So I hope it is visible to all of you. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let us continue. Yes. Thank you so much, sir. We have 3 parts in our discussion. First is how to formulate the problem. Second is how to conduct a research on that problem, and how we can convert that research into a publishable material as an article into some reputed journal, or maybe the case study for classroom usage through some publication in the form of case studies. Very famous in the area I belong. Dr. The ma'am I was speaking with, she is familiar with. So case study is one of the way of having good pedagogy these days in higher education. And today's discussion will be more focused upon Indian knowledge system. I try to have more insights on knowledge system of India. So our boundaries are now very much clear. So first thing first is our problem is entirely based on the literature. Research problem is based on the literature. So we need to understand what literature means to us. Anybody who would like to add on, what do you mean by the term literature?
Yes, sir. Literature is a reflection of life.
Yeah.
It is a mirror of life, an X-ray copy of life.
Thank you, Dr. Nidhi. Yes. So literature is something, as she said, that literature is a written document, which we can obtain from library, where we can connect our, research problem. And literature is the piece of, already written set of documents which are available in the form of newspapers, books, research papers, or maybe a piece of manuscript written down by somebody in the previous generation, probably. For example, writing by my great grandfather, which speak about how I can extract honey from honeybees, मधुमक्खी के छत्ते से मधु कैसे निकाला जाए, उस विधि पे मेरे परदादा ने कुछ लिखा था और मैं उसको पढ़कर उस विधि का इस्तेमाल करके अब मैं किसी भी मधुमक्खी के छत्ते से मधु निकालने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ. So that piece of document is also literature for me. Now, interestingly, understanding what literature talks about, whether it is matching with my research problem or not, in order to understand that, I need to be very clear in terms of two things. First is that literature should be properly reviewed. So first thing first is I need to understand and review that literature. Literature review is a process where I will undergo the readings, recording, and bifurcation of whatever available from the previous literature, right? Is a process of reviewing the literature. So literature review is actually helping how it is helping us to write a good, research problem. Let us understand the process, because literature review intensively involved into understanding about what is being done by the previous researchers, how they have done it, what problems they have addressed, what problem they have not addressed, which is called as research gap at the later stage. So we will understand that what are good and what are bad in the previous research. Like Dr. Nidhi was explaining, that literature is something which is already available with us. Am I right, Dr. Nidhi? This is something,
Yes, sir.
Let us go through the process of the overview of the process. Let me start with the problem statement, right? For example, the other professor was saying that she wanted to write something, relationship between the effect of training on the efficiency or efficacy of the teachers. So how the training and development is impacting the performance of the teachers. Suppose she want to experiment. So her research problem is primarily, if you state her research problem, it is something, in simple words, it is a relationship between X and Y. How X is impacting the Y, where Y is the performance of the teachers and X is the training and development. Is it okay with everybody? Please raise your hands if it is okay with you. If you understood the term problem formulation. So I simply write the problem in the form of statement or simply mathematically in the form of relationship. Either in the form of relationship, like I have mentioned here, that X is impliedly affecting Y, which is how training and development is affecting the performance of the teachers. Or I can write it in the form of statement also, like how training and development, T&D means training and development in my case, is affecting or influencing the academic performance of teachers. Academic performance of teachers. So this statement is typically a problem statement, right? This statement is typically a problem statement and also a research question. Why it is a research question? Because it is coming through a, integrative approach, which says I'm trying to explain or to build a relationship between training and development and its effect on the performance of the teachers. So this sentence is called as problem statement. And what is the problem we are trying to state? The relationship between training and development and the performance of the teachers. Agreed or not? Everybody, please raise your hands if it is okay with. Because in Google, you can only talk and rest you can see in your mobile phone. Since I'm using two screens, so I will understand that how many are able to understand So it's a good amount of hand raised. That's good. So first thing first is we should know what you want to do, and that doing is coming through the problem formulation, which is simplified in terms of problem statement, like I mentioned, which could be also explained in terms of research question as well. What I want to do, explain, or wanted to investigate or interrogate. Simple भाषा में research problem एक तरह का रिश्ता है दो कारकों के बीच में, X और Y दो हमारे एलिमेंट्स हैं जिनको हम मैथमेटिकली टेस्ट करेंगे बाद में, किसी स्टैटिस्टिकल टूल से उनकी वैल्यू को चेक किया जाएगा और इस रिश्ते को हम दो तरह से एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं, या तो सिंपल एक मैथमेटिकल इक्वेशन की फॉर्म में या मैथमेटिकल रिलेशनशिप की फॉर्म में, या किसी लिखित भाषा के सेंटेंस की भाषा में, जैसे मैंने यहाँ लिखा है, हाउ ट्रेनिंग एंड डेवलपमेंट इज अफेक्टिंग द एकेडमिक परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ टीचर्स, राइट. सो मैं यहाँ पे परफॉर्मेंस और ट्रेनिंग के रिश्ता नापना चाहता हूँ. सो दिस इज कॉल्ड एज प्रॉब्लम डेफिनेशन और डिफाइनिंग द प्रॉब्लम, राइट. सो इसमें एक चीज और भी इंपॉर्टेंट है कि ये प्रॉब्लम क्या सॉल्यूशन लेके आएगी. अगर मैं ट्रेनिंग डेवलपमेंट और परफॉर्मेंस के बीच का रिश्ता मेजर कर पाता हूं, तो मैं ये बताने में सक्षम हो पाऊंगा कि HRDCs की रेलेवेंस क्या है. बिकॉज द रिसोर्स सेंटर इज typically UGC's HRDCs. So they are the centralized or regional centers. Those are taking care of the training and development of all the PGs and government university teachers in their level first or level second stage, so that they can orient them or get them refreshed by inculcating new knowledge, and the effect of that particular knowledge is coming through the performance in the classroom. So I should also know the relevance, why I'm doing this research. Now, interestingly, the passage for getting this problem is coming through the literature searching. I need to understand that what is the current state of development or state of art in the domain I'm trying to look into research problem. So what is the recent development which are being carried out? What is the recent or the past development carried out with the same problem that I'm trying to state, which is how training and development is linked to performance of the teachers, how performance is being increased through training and development. So I need to look into the relevant literature. Relevant means literature which talks about training and development and the performance of the teachers. Anything which is not related to them, these two terms or keywords or these two variables remain irrelevant for me, right? So the important thing is literature searching means we are trying to search upon the variables we've tried to establish the relationship between. Is it okay with everybody? Which means what? I wanted to say that literature searching required which are the terms we want to study, X and Y, training and development and the performance, and what is the relationship between these two, so that whatever research has been carried out, this is my relevant, area, relevant terms, relevant relationship between two variables, X and Y. So I need to look upon the literature, the previously written material or stuff, which is published in the form of books, in the form of research papers, in the form of case studies, in the form of any form of, document which is being published in the past, called to be the secondary literature, right? So this process of searching the relevant literature from the existing set of literature or pool of literature from multiple sources is called literature searching. I hope it is clear to everybody. If it is clear, please raise your hands. Or if you have any question, you can simply unmute yourself and ask me directly. Dr. Manju, is it clear to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Shall I go forward now?
Yes, sir,
Yes,
please.
Fine. So searching relevant literature is very important. Now, interestingly, the literature search can be happened through lot many of databases. A place, a virtual. Earlier, what happened was 20 years back when I was doing PhD. During the time, we were having very limited set of internet enabled, libraries. Libraries were not digitized. So we used to go to libraries for accessing, literature from. Since IIT Roorkee was a neighboring, institution with a vast, library full of books. So I used to visit IIT Roorkee for fetching up the literature. This was a form of, library was a database for me where I can get the relevant literature related to my research area. Now, databases are become electronized. They become so these particular things are getting changed now. The literature is now available from multiple sources now, from physical books through the libraries, but also from the non, physical form of sources, including e-libraries or e-databases like Google Scholar. We have, like I often need talk about Google Scholar, which is a free of cost, literature database. You can get through. You can see the screen. I hope screen we can share. Screen is. I need to share it again, I believe. Let me share that how Google Scholar works and how it is fruitful for you. So this is Google Scholar, right? And I request all of you to build a login into this. You can use your Gmail account for building ID into Google Scholar. And if it is not, it's okay, not an issue. You can simply use it for, getting your relevant search. For example, I'm looking out for something related to the problem I have mentioned. This is what training and development and performance of faculty members. Now, interestingly, these two things are called to be the keywords. Keywords are the known words which are indexed into some database like Google Scholar. And by creating a logical or Boolean arrangement of search between these two keywords or more than two keywords, we can obtain the results. Like, for example, a study written in Pakistan Vision, which is one of the journal published from Pakistan, they did one research on faculty development programs and its effect on the performance of individuals and the organization. Organization means here the education institutions. So it could be one of the relevant paper for my literature review. So while I go through this paper, I can understand that this paper could be helpful for me to fetch the relevant information or the state of understanding about the development that we had in the same domain that this guy, Professor Dhar, has wrote down on the training and the impact on the performance. So this could be my relevant literature. Like I've mentioned here, that we are looking out for the relevant literature for search, right? So relevant means anything which is scoping into your domain of problem formulation. And similarly, there are a lot of papers, written down here. And we can simply, get them downloaded if it is free to download, and PDF version is always downloadable for us. Or if it is not, we can always see the abstract through Google Scholar. So interestingly, I can have the handpicked using Google Scholar. I can simply, put them into my library also. So it will, if I put save, it will be, submitted to my library. What is library I wish to tell you about? See what is happening now. I want to select the papers. Not all papers are interested and suitable to my relevance, right? Few papers are not relevant to my study. Maybe they are old. Maybe they are beyond the scope of my research problem, beyond the boundary of my research problem. Or maybe I don't like the methodology, or I don't want to take them into my final literature review section. So interestingly, you can have the handpick to those who you feel that they are suitable for your further reading. And you can simply put the star here. Like, for example, this paper, second paper also sound good to me. And I feel that I should read it at a later stage. So I will simply click on the save. Right now, interestingly, what has happened if I write on save on Google Scholar, suppose I build a library for BPS HRDC. This is my library. So I build one library into my account. And once I start submitting or saving my stuff, saving the selected papers for the library, what the system will do is, after the search, once I want to read and download the papers, I can simply go through the library, right, and get my paper accessed. Like these two papers, this paper, I've downloaded, I have searched, and I felt that I should read it further. So it will be available in the library. Now, what is library? Library means a place where we can further access our searches. Now, interestingly, I can also get the reference style. I mean, suppose there are a lot of versions of referencing, as we all know or aware about, and referencing is important to acknowledge the citations that the papers you have takes any form of stuff from. So we have a lot of styling of putting references, and APA, American Psychology Association, is one of them. So I can also use Google Scholar for making my reference section. Like I'm doing it again. If you simply click on the double quotes button, it is cite, select it here, get it copied, take out some MS Word file, a blank one probably, write a blank file, put the reference, and your reference section is ready. You just need to reshuffle it chronologically in the form of A to Z, from A to Z order. So you can use Google Scholar for two purposes: for further readings, for quick reading, for creating citations, references, and for downloading papers also, which is connected through multiple sources like academia.edu, maybe from the institutional website where the repository is available, and researchers has put their papers into their institutional website. You can get it downloaded, or maybe some similar databases like academiajournals.org, maybe from some bigger pool of databases or network, social network site like researchgate.net, and you can finally download or maybe the direct access from the websites also. So Google Scholar is free of cost and open access database, which we frequently use for collecting data, but it is somehow not considered to be very authentic. And we have other databases which are considered to be more authentic, like Web of Science and our very own Scopus. So let me take you to Scopus. In Scopus, you need to search in the search button, you need to just click here, and you need to search upon the keywords. Suppose I'm using the same keywords, training and development, and I'm looking out for performance as the second keyword. So if I click here, I will get the papers relevant to this particular search. So this is how we can, hit upon the relevant literature for our reading, for literature review section. And we can see that training and development with performance is coming up with 1,498 papers. Since I'm seeing it not from the perspective of faculty members, so let me add faculty members here, or teaching faculty. So I will get more precise outcome. So only one paper, because it is talking about teaching faculty, or let me write it down, academia, academic. So it talks about academic reading, academic performance. So I've got 108 papers. So you can refine your search also gradually, and it is a hit and trial process. There is no thumb rule as such that what should be the keywords. Keywords could be index keywords. Keywords could be your own authored keyword also, and you can have more. You can simply get it selected, get them downloaded into CSV file, comma separated value, right? Export, or you can use it for similarly. You can use it for reference managers like our very own, either EndNote or maybe Mendeley with the BibTeX version. You can also download or export BibTeX version. Suppose I'm checking all the values and get it exported. So you can open the Excel file, CSV file into Excel, and you can simply understand that what are the papers, how much they are being cited, what is the DOI, so that you can further download the papers from some website like SciHub, or you want to know simply who are the authors, the year of publication. You want to put it a filter and understand that किस साल में कितना publish हुआ है उसका, उसी का study करना चाहते हो. मान लीजिए you want to study only the papers which are published from 1990 till 2000. This is the timeline you want to search upon. So only the relevant paper will be shortlisted. So you can use your Excel skill for shortlisting your stuff as well. Yeah. So now, interestingly, why I'm telling you.
Sir, excuse me. Sir, इसके लिए Scopus का subscription होना जरूरी है ना?
Yes. Scopus by default is the paid one. if it is not having, if you don't have the subscription of Scopus, you can only use Scopus for two purposes. First is scopus.com. Suppose I'm using here also, and using some other, web browser. You can use scopus.com still for कई सारे और purposes के लिए use कर सकते हैं आप. You can use scopus.com for author search, right? You want to examine that some author, you want to inspect whether he could be a potential, collaborator with you. You want to understand. So उसकी credentials नापने के लिए भी आप use कर सकते हो उसे. And you can simply, put it on the search, or maybe the area of expertise he is carrying. So you can get your author searching from Scopus. When you're not having the institutional, subscription. Similarly, you can use Scopus for one more purpose, for source search. Suppose आप journals मालूम करना चाहते हो अपने areas के, तो आप यहाँ सब areas दिए हैं, या मान लो आपको कोई title पता है और आप उसके impact factor या उसकी authorization check करना चाहते हो. तो कोई journal है मान लीजिए sustainability के नाम से, you want to check whether it exists or not, or whether it is Scopus listed or not. You can see that. Suppose मैं precise एक search डालता हूँ sustainability. Sustainability MDPI. So you, for finding the sources and finding the authors, you can use Scopus. Like for example, let me write something better. Suppose we are searching out for whether Journal of Cleaner Protection is Scopus listed or not. So you just need to go to title, need to write the title of the journal, like for example, Journal of Cleaner Protection. And find sources. You get the result. You can see the basic information about the journal, how much side score it carries, what is its ISSN number, EISSN number, electronic ISSN number, from which year it was Scopus listed till now, right? Sidetrack store, which area it covers, since it is a multidisciplinary journal, which areas it covers, whether your area coming under that set of areas or categories or not. So you can get more insightful on that. So ma'am, you can do only two things if it is not subscribed by your institution. So you can, do the author searching, or you can do the search of the source, right? Only two things you can do. And interestingly, what happened was, if it is paid, then everything is available. You can, downloads the index. You can see the summary also. You can see the abstract also of the papers, right? So now, interestingly, since if it is not, subscribed by your institution, what you can do is you can go to some central university, or maybe some nearby IIT-IIM, or maybe some education national importance institute. They have the accessibility and they have the, and nothing to worry. If you don't have a Scopus, then we have Google Scholar for you, right, ma'am? So Google Scholar is a better source because it is more comprehensive, although values are not that much authentic. So coming back to my things, I wish to tell you about the literature searching. So you need to have the relevant literature database for the same. So after reading, what you can do, you can create a summary. After creating a summary, I will let you know how to create a summary. You can define your research questions now. You can have multiple research questions, right? Research question 1, research question 2. For example, my research question was my research problem only, that how the training and development can influence the performance of the teachers. So my research question is stating my research problem as well. But now, interestingly, this is the argument I'm looking out for through experimental survey, by putting some kind of empirical research through questionnaire, of course. And next thing is, which is important, is detailing that argument, putting how my research question is coming up and all. And the last thing is start drafting my research paper. So now I'm quickly getting into the things. Now, first thing first is for others, then Dr. Harsh, I wish to ask you how you define your research problem. Anybody? Any male teacher? Please unmute yourself and let us know how you identify the research problem. Anybody? How you define your... Yes, sir. Professor Nilesh, welcome. Professor Manju, can you tell us how you define your research problem?
So by reviewing the literature and looking into which areas have been explored and which are still not explored, and what are the variables coming up from it.
Very right, ma'am. Thank you so much for your answer. She will look into the novelty of the subjects, the areas which are still not explored, and the primary knowledge you're getting from the grey literature, which is coming from the newspapers, which is coming from the periodics, from audio-visual channels, for example, some news channel, from some conference proceedings, from some sort of discussion we had and documented and publicly available. So multiple sources she will look into: the newspapers, the reports, the news, lectures of some senior professor, some discussion which is being documented and publicly available, and the research articles that I was talking about. Very right, ma'am. Now, interestingly, research problem, if you're able to manage to come out with, it will address multiple things. It will give you the reason for doing research. Like she was talking about that I will explore something unexplored. So anything which is not being done yet by the previous researchers is called to be the research gap. So research gap is what? Anything which is not left out, which is not being covered. Am I right, Dr. Manju? Anything, any research which is not yet being covered and which is to be covered, and probably you being the researcher, the new researcher into that problem, will touch upon and will try to conclude through. So this is called as research gap. Now, research gap is again can be investigated through research questions. That what, how, where, when, how, when, where, what, the family of W and H. So this is what actually research question है. Investigation के लिए हमें प्रश्न चाहिए और प्रश्नों को हम पूर्ण निर्धारित नहीं कर सकते हैं, इसलिए हम उनको इंटीग्रेट करेंगे. प्रश्नों का आंसर हमें नहीं पता है, इसलिए हम उसे इंटीग्रेट करेंगे. इंट्रोगेशन के लिए हम रिसर्च कर रहे हैं. As simple as. And particularly, your research could be highlighting some sort of issue. For example, you are looking out for vaccine for COVID 3 years back. So it could be a social issue, public health. Or you want, suppose a teacher of economics, you're looking out for the solution for more economic health solutions for the masses, right? So that you can convert that solution into a mass mission at the national level. Or maybe you are looking out for something issue which is related to the education of the underprivileged people, right? So अभी underprivileged लोगों के लिए education मुहैया कराना ये नेशनल मिशन तब बनेगा जब उसको आप हाईलाइट करोगे, जब इसके बारे में आप इन्वेस्टिगेशन करोगे, जैसे जर्नलिस्ट करते हैं. सो किसी इश्यू को जो अनएक्सप्लोर्ड है उसे एक्सप्लोर करना, उस पर अनुसंधान करना, वो भी रिसर्च है. एक जैसे कोई रिपोर्टर या कोई इन्वेस्टिगेटर करता है किसी न्यूज चैनल का, या कोई सोशल सर्वेंट करता है, या कोई एनजीओ चलाने वाला करता है. बट वन थिंग इज वेरी क्लियर, इफ यू आर डूइंग एकेडमिक रिसर्च और रिसर्च अदरवाइज एज अ TV journalist or a news reporter, you need to set the boundary of your research. Context, scope build karna padega. You need to create a boundary, periphery. It will help you to define that where, at what extent you can go to collect data, at what time period you are available with. For example, you decided that for next 5 years, I will collect data about the patients that are being, those are cancer affected patients. Right, so you have decided the timeline. So time boundaries on the timeline is one of the boundary. Or you decided that I will only investigate the people those are affected from cancer, maybe from blood cancer. Those are situated in Himachal Pradesh or maybe Haryana, a state called Haryana. I will not take any sample outside Haryana. You will also decide the boundary that I will only take the registered cases. So you will only investigate the cases which are being registered into some health institution, maybe a private hospital, maybe a clinic, maybe a government hospital, right? Maybe a PG institution, right? So the boundaries is coming through the respondents, boundaries coming from the time span, boundaries coming from the research question you have, boundaries coming from a lot of literature support. The methodology sometimes is a boundary that you will only decided that you will only do the empirical research. You will only do the survey method. You will not go for any other qualitative form of research. This is also a boundary, right? And one thing which is very important that I've discussed in the question I formulated about the teacher training and development and the performance is the problem statement, that how these variables X and Y are interconnected, right? How performance and training development can be stated together in the form of a statement. अंग्रेजी की statement में कैसे लिखा जा सकता है ताकि दोनों variables, जो हमने यहाँ दो variable लिए हैं अपने example में, variable 1, variable 2, variable X, variable Y, आपस में एक दूसरे को expressively explain कर पाए in the form of problem statement. This is important. So let me take an example. जब आप पेपर्स को डाउनलोड करते हैं ना, जैसे अभी गूगल स्कॉलर से किया है या किसी से भी, उसमें साफ साफ मेंशन होगा कि प्रॉब्लम, रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम क्या है और रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम कहां से आती है, ये भी समझना बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है. रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम आती है, कैन यू सी माय स्क्रीन एवरीबॉडी? इज द स्क्रीन कमिंग और नॉट?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the research problem is coming from the previous work. I mean, the author who wrote down this paper, they investigated the research for themselves, for the current problem, through the research gap they had. Like they have mentioned, this study adopts XYZ framework as theoretical lens. This framework explains why X, P, Q, R, whatever, right? Offering a holistic view of complexity relationship between factors, between mechanism influencing the SMEs to circular economy. Now, interestingly, this portion of statement, this is problem statement actually, which is coming impliedly from where? From the research gap, from the previous research. Like Doctor was telling Board that research literature will help you to identify the research gaps. And one of the research gap out of all the research gaps is your own study. That out of the research gap, I want to address the research gap through my study, through a research problem. And that, what is the research problem? That how SMEs, in this case, are performing circular economy activities. I want to investigate it through a method, through a particular method called as MLP, for instance, through a method or a framework. So यहाँ हमने बाउंड्री भी डिफाइन कर दी कि आप क्या कर रहे हो, किस फ्रेमवर्क या किस थ्योरी का इस्तेमाल करोगे. So रिसर्च गैप्स क्या है? रिसर्च गैप कुड बी मोर देन वन. एक टाइम पे एक लेके चलते हैं तो मल्टीपल रिसर्च गैप्स हो सकते हैं. आपने एक रिसर्च गैप पकड़ लिया कि हम एसएमईज के कंटेक्स्ट में सर्कुलर इकोनॉमी के इफेक्ट को हम चेक करेंगे मल्टीपल फैक्टर्स पे, राइट? सो ये स्मार्टनेस इज कमिंग फ्रॉम वेयर? इट इज कमिंग फ्रॉम लॉट मेनी ऑफ रीडिंग्स. The fundamental thing remain fundamental. It's what you need to read and write the summary. You need to read and write the summary. You will have multiple research gaps, and every research gap will have at least one research problem which is coming out for yourself. So you can, write your papers, you can write your reviews, you can write your investigations based on the research gap you have, right? Now, what are the sources? As I've said, we have multiple sources. We have sources like Google Scholar. We have sources like Scopus that I was highlighting. We have other resources like Web of Science. We have the resources from e-libraries. We have the resources from open accesses. We have the resource from UGC-HRDC-Bhagat. We have resources like IEEE, right? Multiple sources are there. You can, get through the resources. Some are free, some are hybrid, some are closed-ended, which is paid one. Now, importantly, for searching, I have used AND operator. I've used AND operator between X and Y, training and development and performance. के बीच में मैंने AND लिखा था. देखिए, repeat कर रहा हूँ. यहाँ लिखा है AND. Can you see my other screen also? Google Scholar. Yes or no, Dr. Manju? Can we see?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is what? This is Boolean operator. It combines your search, this keyword with this keyword. Similarly, what is happening, you can put the inclusion and exclusion. Suppose, let me take this. यहाँ से समझ में आएगा. I'm only interested to study the researches which have happened between 2020 and 2023. This is called as exclusion criteria. I will exclude everything which is beyond these particular timeline. 2020 से पहले और 2023 के बाद. This is called as exclusion. Inclusion का मतलब क्या है? मैंने, जैसे मैं यहाँ ट्रीट करता हूँ, मैंने ओपन एक्सेस पेपर्स भी ले लिए हैं, पर मैंने सारे ओपन एक्सेस पेपर ले लिए. मैं स्पेसिफिकली एक नहीं ले रहा हूँ, सारे ले रहा हूँ. या मैं एक एग्जांपल और देता हूँ, मुझे रिसर्च आर्टिकल्स भी चाहिए और मुझे रिव्यू भी चाहिए. तो जिन पेपर्स में रिव्यू हुआ है वो भी चाहिए और जो रिसर्च आर्टिकल्स हैं वो भी चाहिए. तो आई एम लिमिटिंग माई सेल्फ और आई एम इंक्लूडिंग सम न्यू फॉर्म. लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आई वॉन्टेड टू इंक्लूड चाइना इन टू माई स्टडी. चाइनीज पेपर्स जो लिखे गए हैं चाइनीज ऑथर्स द्वारा, और साउथ अफ्रीका. So this is inclusion and exclusion. Over the available, boundaries, you can change or you can interplay with, right? This is inclusion and exclusion. So this is something, interesting. And apart to this, you import the data source. Like I have said, मैंने Excel की file दिखाई है आपको. This is import. You import it and you get it download into CSV version or BIP file and get it open into relevant softwares. Like you can, open CSV file into Microsoft Excel, and you can open a BIP file into EndNote or maybe Mendeley, and accordingly you can create your inclusion and exclusion criteria further. Like for example, keyword X and keyword Y, right? You can get them combined. You can search them combinedly. This is AND operator, Boolean operator one, or you can collect the information relevant to these two different keywords separately using other Boolean operator or operator, right? So stuff can be downloaded into permissible set of files, BIF text or maybe CSV file, and you can further study. ये मैं आपको already बता चुका हूँ. ये मैंने inclusion exclusion just अभी बताया आपको. डाउनलोड भी मैंने आपको बताया था, बड़ी स्क्रीन आई थी. और मैंने एक बात आपको बताई कि आप समरी जरूर बनाइए, जो कि यहाँ डिस्कस हुई है. देखिए आप यहाँ पे बात हुई है कि समराइजिंग बहुत जरूरी है, अदरवाइज आप भूल जाएंगे पढ़ के. सो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, आप समरी करते हुए ऐसी टेबल बना के अगर समराइज करते हैं तो दो फायदे हैं. यू विल हैव कंटेंट अवेलेबल फॉर योर सेकेंड सेक्शन लिटरेचर रिव्यू. वहां के लिए आपकी टेबल बन जाएगी, टेबल 2 बन जाएगी आपके लिए, टेबल 2 या 3 व्हाटएवर इट इज, टेबल 2.1 2.3. इसमें आप अब तक के जितने पेपर्स हैं उनको समराइज कर रहे हो. यू आर बिल्डिंग अ समरी ऑफ रेफरेंसेस. फॉर एग्जांपल, जोशी एट ऑल 2023 इट्स वन ऑफ द पेपर जिसमें फोकस किया गया था एसएमईज, स्मॉल मीडियम एंटरप्राइजेस के केस में कैसे परफॉर्मेंस इंक्रीज किया जाए, किसका इस्तेमाल करके, ट्रेनिंग एंड डेवलपमेंट के थ्रू. मान लीजिए निगम का एक पेपर था जो उसने 2020 में लिखा था, जिसमें उसने बोला कि ट्रेनिंग एंड डेवलपमेंट के थ्रू हम एकेडमिक इंस्टीट्यूशन के टीचर्स के परफॉर्मेंस बढ़ा सकते हैं. जोशी ने अपने पेपर में मान लीजिए 250 रिस्पोंडेंट्स को कवर किया था. इस काम को करने के लिए उसने रिग्रेशन मॉडलिंग की थी. रिजल्ट आया कि एसएमईज में ट्रेनिंग जरूरी है, कंपलसरी है. लिमिटेशन क्या थी, सिर्फ उसने उत्तराखंड की स्टडी करी. सो यू कैन क्रिएट अ समरी अक्रॉस अ टपल. So this is something, this portion itself is a summary tabulated in the table, right? And itself is a kind of, giving you a glance of what the author has done. In 2023, the paper was written on SMEs, training and development and the performance of the people of SMEs. 250 was a data collection, data analysis results into positive thing. Results shows a lot of regression modeling has been done. The tool I am talking about. रिजल्ट्स इनटू गुड थिंग दैट कंपलसरी होनी चाहिए ट्रेनिंग, पर लिमिटेशन क्या थी, सिर्फ उत्तराखंड को स्टडी करें. ये रिसर्च गैप आ गया अपना, ये पूरा का पूरा कि उत्तराखंड को स्टडी करें. यूपी ले सकते थे, हरियाणा ले सकते थे, हिमाचल ले सकते थे. लेट अस एक्सटेंड हिज स्टडी. इसकी स्टडी को हम रिसर्च करते हैं. जो जोशी ने अपनी स्टडी करी उसको रिसर्च करते हैं. लेट अस पुट मोर वेरिएबल इनटू दैट. लेट अस ऐड वन मोर वेरिएबल let us say P variable और R वेरिएबल इनटू दिस, अब X, Y और R के बीच में स्टडी होगी। कैसे? ट्रेनिंग, डेवलपमेंट, परफॉर्मेंस और इनकम बढ़ा सकते हैं। R मान लो इनकम होगी। अब जो ट्रेनिंग लेके आएगा वो एक्स्ट्रा क्लासेस लेगा, उसको पैसे मिलेंगे एक्स्ट्रा क्लास लेने के, तो उसकी इनकम भी बढ़ जाएगी, राइट? अब आपने इसको अलग अलग इंडस्ट्रीज में स्टडी कर लिया, ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूशन में, टेक्निकल इंस्टीट्यूशंस में, एसएमईज में, राइट?
Voice is not coming. I think there is network problem.